Good afternoon, everyone. We are spending the day at Quantrell Subaru in Lexington with arguably their most important car, the Outback. If you're in the market for any Subaru, be sure to stop by physically or via their website, which we have provided a link to in the description. This particular Outback is the upper end limited trim in tungsten metallic, but like always, we'll also be covering the other trim levels as well. So let's go ahead and see what has made this wagon crossover such a successful product. So starting out here with the exterior design, this is the Subaru that basically set the benchmark for all the rest of their products. After its refresh last year, it wears the latest and greatest corporate grille, which is a little more smoothed out and refined looking. All trims get this version with a single chrome bar through the middle and chrome outlining the edges. The headlights also share their design with other Subarus, specifically these steering responsive LED headlights. They are optional on this 2.5 Limited to replace halogens, but are standard on the Touring and both the 3.6R trims. Down in the lower areas, you will find beefy trim, which houses the fog lights on all but the base model, and also highlights the Outback's excellent 8.7 inches of ground clearance. But moving to the side view is where you begin to see that the Outback is not like your traditional SUV. Subaru actually calls it a sport utility wagon, so even though it's not nearly as tall as something like the Subaru Ascent, it's only at a 7-inch deficit lengthwise. Obviously, it uses plenty of rugged trim, which only gets more aggressive as you get to the rear view. This is a very capable vehicle, and it looks the part, with matching chunky taillights and enormous roof rails, perfect for tying down a kayak or whatever the owner's active lifestyle may dictate. All in all, the Outback is a vehicle more concerned about functionality than gorgeous looks. However, it still has plenty of modern touches to keep it from looking basic. Now, since this is an off-road capable vehicle, you won't find giant wheels with low-profile tires. Instead, what you'll find are 18-inch alloys on the upper trims, with this 5-spoke design on the Limited and a 10-spoke design on the Touring. The other two trims share plainer-looking 17-inch alloys. Next up, we have the mirrors, which are body-colored on all but the base trim. And on our model with the popular package 2, we also have the projection light and auto-dimming abilities. Lastly, Limited and Touring have blind spot monitoring located in the back of the mirror. However, even though BSM continues to be optional on lower trims, for 2019, all the other safety systems are now standard across the board. That EyeSight safety suite includes automatic pre-collision braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control. Additionally, high beam assistant and reverse auto braking are also offered, except on the Touring where they are standard. The last thing we'll look at on the outside is the fuel tank. Every Outback comes with an 18.5 gallon fuel tank, which is good for 518 miles of range from the 4-cylinder and 407 miles of range from the 6-cylinder. And of course, both models run on regular unleaded fuel. Anyways, that does it for the outside, so now let's go ahead and check out the interior. So on the every Outback, you will find standard keyless entry, though it will only be smart entry on the Limited and Touring. Those models get this really nice key fob, the other models get a traditional key with buttons on it. Additionally, you can remote start from the StarLink app. To get into the Outback, all you have to do is stick your hand behind the door handle because there is a sensor. So peeking inside the 2019 Outback, as you can see, there aren't any real visual changes for 2019. That means most trims will continue to have 3 different color options. This warm ivory, black, or a gray color that was added as an option last year. However, if you do go for the Touring trim, you will be locked into only Java Brown. And then as far as your materials go, the top two trims come with leather and the bottom two trims come with cloth seats. Now turning to the door trim, it has a very premium look to it. You've got leatherette all through here regardless of trim. And then on the Limited and Touring, you've got more leather up through here. On the top two trims, you will also find a faux wood trim instead of a faux aluminum trim on the other two. On Limited and Touring, you do have two-person memory seats as well. And the windows are one-touch automatic for the driver and passenger. Coming down to the seat, you will find a 10-way power adjusting seat on all but the base trim. It does have two-way lumbar support as well. And as far as the leather itself, it both looks and feels high quality. Now the Outback is coming off of a refresh just last year, so it does mean both the design and materials have stayed the same for 2019. All of the upper dash is made of a high quality soft touch plastic. And then down here you will continue to find this stitching detail that was added last year. Once again, your top two trims do come with this faux wood trim. And then all the lower areas are hard touch, but everything feels really solidly put together. On Limited and Touring Outbacks, just press the button to start. On those same two trims, when you do, an 8-inch display will fire up, as opposed to a 6.5-inch one on the other two trims. So looking at the gauges, there is one 2019 change, and that's that this 5-inch multifunction display is now standard on all trims, since all trims now come standard with eyesight. It scrolls through all the standard affair of information like your audio, compass, tire pressures, and miles per hour, but it is worth noting that the Outback does not have the extra display like the Ascent and Forester do. Now coming back to the steering, it is electric power, and you will find this leather wrapped wheel on all but the base model. You've got your standard affair of buttons for phone, voice, and audio. And then on this side you've got your buttons for your safety systems and the standard adaptive cruise control. The wheel itself is manually tilt and telescoping, and heating comes on the Touring trim. Now, even though the Outback is smaller than a lot of mid-size crossovers, it has about as much storage as they do. To start out with, you've got a really large center console. You can remove this tray, and as you can see, it is deep, and then the entire thing is felt lined. There is also a 12-volt outlet inside. In front of that, you've got two cup holders, a little place to hold your phone up, and then if you press this open, you'll find another really deep area as well. And then in the back, you've got two charging USB ports, which now come standard on all the trims. And then you've got your aux jack and 12-volt outlet. Now coming back to your shifter, it is just the standard Subaru shifter. So you pull back for drive, and you can bump to the left to shift manually with the standard paddle shifters. Now you do have 7 simulated gears you can shift through for the CVT. When you shift into reverse, all models do have a standard backup camera. Now on this trim we do also have trajectory, parking sensors, as well as rear automatic braking. Moving back behind the shifter, there are a few buttons. This one is your electronic parking brake. This is your X mode button, which optimizes the vehicle for off-roading. And then you've got your hill descent control. Now moving on up from that, we've got dual zone climate control on all but the base model. As you can see, it is very easy to use. You've just got two knobs for your temperature, and then everything else has its own dedicated buttons, nicely labeled right through here. You will also find 3-stage heated seats on all but the base model, so that's a nice touch. Now let's go ahead and sample this model's optional 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. Overall sound quality of this system is very good. Anyways, that brings us to the StarLink system, so let's go ahead and take a quick look. So this is the same StarLink system that we see in all other Subarus. On this model it is 8 inches, and you've got capacitive buttons on the side with the exception of physical volume and tune knob. Getting started here, this is your home screen, and you've got your apps nicely laid out. Starting out with phone, you've got your normal stuff like your keypad, and you've also got your phone book where your contacts automatically sync over. Clicking into map will bring us into our navigation system, which is standard on the Limited and Touring. As you can see, the graphics are nice and pinch to zoom does work really well. Now if you get a model that does not have navigation, you will be happy to know that both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay come on all trims of the Outback. So that would allow you to use Google Maps or Apple Maps instead. Also within the app section, you will find a few standalone things like Pandora, AHA, and then you've got your XM satellite radio powered apps. Well, that pretty much concludes the main features of StarLink, but of course we do have a detailed tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more. A link to that is provided in the video description. Moving on up, you do have one of the other 2019 changes, and that's that this auto-dimming mirror is now standard on the premium trim in addition to the Limited and Touring. It does come with HomeLink universal remotes and a built-in compass. Now backing up to the moonroof, this is standard on the Touring and Limited trims. Interestingly, it is just the standard size unit, even though the Forester can get a panoramic one. But it does have a built-in wind buffer. So overall, the cabin of the Outback continues to be a great place to spend time. Even though the outside looks very rugged, the inside is actually quite luxurious. So good job overall. Now I'll hand it off to Mason, who will finish off the rest of the cabin. The back door trim of the Outback is just like the front. It's made of nice leather padding where your arm will rest, as well as a quilted design above it. Additionally, you do have some more of that wood trim, and the top is even padded. Your back windows are powered but not automatic, and you do have some door storage down here. Now as far as rear space is concerned in the Outback, you're going to find 38.1 inches of legroom and 38.9 inches of headroom. That actually places it as a little bit smaller than the Forester, but it's right on par with that of the Volkswagen Alltrack. The seats themselves are a nice design, very soft and comfortable. In the center, you're going to find nice amenities. The Limited trims and up will have these 2 rear seat vents, as well as 2-stage rear seat heating. Additionally, you will find these USB ports on premium trims and up. There is also a center armrest, and it does have some cup holders inside. Up top, you do have some lighting, as well as a nice headliner, and an assist grip and coat hook.
Now as far as space is concerned behind Drew's position, I have plenty of it. Looks to be about a foot of space between my knees and the seat back, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Sliding over even with the seat all the way back, I still have several inches of room. So overall, the Outback's rear seat is very nice. I really love the features that are included on this limited trim, and the space and comfort is excellent. All Outbacks do get 60-40 split rear seats, so just push this little button on the top. Coming around to the tailgate, it is power on the limited trims and up, so just find this button under the lid. Inside the trunk of the Outback, you're going to find a surprising amount of space. You'll find 35.5 cubic feet with the rear seats in place, expanding to 73.3 cubic feet with them folded. That is very large for the class. Additionally, Subaru does give you this nice cargo cover, and here's a handle to fold the rear seat backs. It does provide a flat loading floor. The passenger seat is power adjusting on this limited trim. And in front of the passenger, you're going to find nice materials with this padded dashboard, some more wood trim, as well as a dampened glove box. It's very good sized and it is felt lined. Top, you have a sun visor with a mirror and light. You can also adjust and slide as an extension. Well guys, that wraps up what we have to cover up here, so let's go ahead and get to the powertrain and do a quick test drive. So under the hood of the Outback, you're going to find two different engine options. We have the base option, which is a 2.5 liter Boxer 4 engine. It produces 175 horsepower and 174 pound-feet of torque. But if that's not enough power, you do have another option, which is a 3.6 liter Boxer 6 engine. That produces 256 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. Both engines are paired to a CVT, and symmetrical all-wheel drive is standard equipment. Fuel economy remains the same for 2019 for the 4-cylinder model at 25 city, 32 highway 28 combined, and it falls to 20 city, 27 highway 22 combined if you opt for the Boxer 6. And that's pretty much it under the hood. Alright, so let's take it on a quick spin. Now the first thing I want to point out is that just like a lot of Subarus, you've got a kind of touchy throttle response. That is something to keep in mind when you're test driving, if it may or may not bother you. I'm sure it's definitely something you can get used to, but it's a little bit touchier than what you find in rival vehicles. Now, a couple real nice things about the way this car drives.
For one, the steering has a nice heft to it, but not too heavy, so you can actually feel what the wheels are doing, which is a lot more than you can say about a lot of rivals. Additionally, it's really nice the view you have, because you do set up more than 8 inches off the ground. And once again, most things that this competes with, I mean, it depends on what you want to compare it to, but even most mid-size crossovers set around 7 inches.
And as far as the ride quality itself, we've hit a few bumps here in the parking lot. It seems very smooth, very refined ride. It actually seems like a very luxurious ride. It feels more like a luxury car than a basic transportation, you know.
Right, and this vehicle does, of course, have good off-road chops, but it doesn't ride like a wagon or anything. You know, this is not it's not a Wrangler. This is still very much a comfortable crossover. Now, we do have the 4-cylinder, so power is not going to knock your socks off, but it does feel decent, at least at low speeds.
The CVT also does a good job of simulating the gear changes. Honestly, from a passenger's perspective, I probably wouldn't have noticed that it's a CVT transmission as opposed to a regular.
Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching the first in-depth look at the 2019 Subaru Outback 2.5i Limited. Stay watching for a quick overview of the pricing, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.
Mm-hmm.